So I was just trying to write a little bit, and then I realized that even in an internet age, where text can be immediately reproduced everywhere in the world, the instant that I upload it, nonetheless, text is becoming increasingly irrelevant. Um, and I almost felt while I was writing that I'm burying my own desire to speak. I'm burying my own speech because it's just gonna remain there unread. Whereas if I post a video, if I speak, it seems, at least on a superficial level, like I will be heard immediately. That my words live, that they vibrate in the world rather than merely uh, exist digitally. But obviously, when we write, it may be an even higher magic than when we speak, because writing can be resurrected any time in the future, whereas speech dies quite quickly after it is spoken. Of course, now we have video. Maybe that changes everything. Maybe not. But in any event, I was writing a bit about consciousness and what it would mean to have a science of consciousness. And I was actually exchanging some comments about this under my video about panentheism. And it's my opinion that to really approach consciousness in a scientific way, we're first of all going to have to reconsider uh, the nature of science. Because naturalistic science has observed the external world, and through various techniques of modeling, most of which are mathematical, some of which are, more conceptual and metaphorical. When you're dealing with psychology, for example, um, to the extent that you leave the realm of statistics, which provides you a sort of instrumental, technologized knowledge, but um, when you're dealing with actual human beings and uh, human emotions and desires and intentions and uh, you know mental abnormalities, then you have to leave the realm of numbers and enter a sort of qualitative domain. Um, but we say we can still do science in this way, or at least some people are open to the idea. So I think, though, that consciousness requires a complete reorientation of the knowing scientist's place in the universe. Instead of the conscious knowing scientist being a sort of taken for granted and backgrounded feature of what we would call the physical laws of the universe. I think we have to come to see that all these physical laws are true and so real when contemplated and understood in the mind of a scientist. It's not that they don't correspond to an actual uh, process and pattern which exists in the world, but as a true fact about the world, it exists only with the participation of the scientist. So somehow we live in a universe which is not only logically ordered and coherent, but it can be understood as such by conscious, intelligent beings. So when we try to put consciousness in a natural setting, when we try to see the way in which consciousness, and so science, when we try to see how these are related to the cosmos, to the universe itself, I think we reach this position that the physicists talk about, they call the anthropic principle, where we have to recognize that we could only live in a universe capable of producing us. So that it puts us in a paradoxical epistemological situation where our knowledge, because it is necessarily of the universe which created us, is always in it's more of a remembering than it is um, a fluke, or uh, we don't simply come to know the world. Uh, we don't simply come to be conscious, living beings through some sort of an accident. We came to be conscious and intelligent uh, because the universe is conscious and intelligent. That's my own spin on the anthropic principle, but I think that's where one would tend to arrive if they're honest about the implications of this idea, and in fact this fact. I don't think we can understand consciousness as an epiphenomenon, as something which emerges very late in the cosmic evolutionary scheme. I think it's been central to the whole process from the beginning. And this is not to say that the human being, as it exists on planet Earth with our particular anatomical and physiological features, is the pinnacle of cosmic creation. I think that there are other intelligent creatures of probably an entirely different sort on millions of other planets in this galaxy, and in every other galaxy. So we're not the only conscious entities in our universe. And when you consider something like the Drake equation, and I think we have every reason to believe that that's an accurate representation of the amount of life, the proliferation of life in our universe. So in fact, we don't live in a material universe. We live in a living universe, and in fact, a conscious universe. And it's a certain bias that has become the common sense of our age that leads us to think otherwise. Since Darwin, Marx, and Freud, human beings have sort of taken on a pretty low opinion of themselves, and as a result, the only values that we can take seriously are those of industrial capitalism, where we want to make the future safer and easier, more convenient for our children, and so we invest in the religion of technological progress, and we want to make money. We want to get all of our physical, emotional, and psychological needs met through the means that money in a capitalist society can provide, at least for some of us. It's a materialistic metaphysic which leads inevitably to sort of economic or socioeconomic relation or socioeconomic system that we currently exist within. And I think that there's a direct relation between our cosmology and our economics and our ethics, which is why I take philosophy so seriously, and why I sometimes refer to materialism in a pejorative way, because I think there are materialism isn't simply a purely objective, descriptive position. It's tied inextricably to a certain set of moral ideals, a certain conception of the good, and what's possible for a human being in a human life. What's possible for us to desire, what's really worth desiring. These are